Hey there, welcome back. This tutorial is going to do a little bit of a review from our first tutorial, Introduction to the Pen Tool. If you look for it, you should find it on my channel. And it's going to take it a little bit further. We're going to look at how to edit paths, and we can also look at paths created by Pen Tool and by Shape Tool, and also what are our different options in terms of the tools and the control panel and working within the Illustrator workspace. So let's get started. Our first thing that we're going to do, if you just notice kind of what I did there, we notice that the pen tool is one of the tools that has this little triangle down at the lower right hand corner. So to access the rest of the related tools, we're going to go ahead and click and release once we get to that second triangle, and that's how we get that tear off panel. So again, there's lots of tools that are kind of hiding under here. So to save space and make it more efficient, we access them once we click and hold and use the tear off panel to have everything visible. So when we're going to get started drawing lines, my recommendation is to take off the white fill because then it's going to kind of obscure some areas of the path, and especially since it's the same color as the artboard, it can get kind of confusing. So when drawing lines, we're going to go ahead and choose none as our fill so that we're only just drawing the black lines. So once again, a little bit of review. To get started, we're going to click and release, and if we want to make a straight path, we click and release again, click and release. And if we want to make that next line segment start to move off so that we can create a curve, we're going to click and hold and drag, not release yet until we get the perfect curve that we're looking for, and then release. Now that we've got a curve, this Bezier curve functionality, if we recall from the previous video, that information is actually being generated sort of here, being held here in the anchor point. And so these are the handles with which to edit that curve. They're generating from the anchor point. You're also seeing here a preview of the next line segment. So if we go ahead and click release, you'll notice that this anchor point moved from this line segment into this line segment in what we call a smooth or round join. That means it's joining the two line segments in with that curve. And if we want then to move into this next direction, or we're kind of free to do whatever we want because we don't have these handles to constrain us, I can kind of move over in that direction, click and drag, hold, click and release, etc. Okay, so let's kind of leave that funny little shape there. You notice that again, Illustrator is trying to generate this preview of the next line segment. Let's just click on any other tool to deactivate that and start to look at ways that we can edit this line. So first of all, with the white or direct select tool, I'm going to select just sort of anchor point by anchor point. And again, let's investigate. This anchor point is what we call a corner join. It has no handles, so there's nothing really to sort of edit, except that if we click here onto that curve, that circle there, that icon right there, we can actually convert it right on the fly into a curve. And so every corner is sort of going to have that. Even if you see this sort of looks like a curve, but it just has the slightest corner, as long as it doesn't have handles, it classifies as a corner. So once again, if we want, we can kind of on the fly convert that join. We can also use our Add Anchor Point tool to add anchors, and right from those anchor points is where all the editing happens. So it's from here that we can kind of make that edit. And now again, we've created another curve. If we want, we could convert use the anchor point tool here to convert from a smooth join or a round join, click and release to create a corner join there at that anchor point. So again, all the editing happens at the anchor points. So one of the big ideas in Illustrator is that we want just enough anchor points with which to edit our line, but we don't want so many that they clutter the fluidity of our line, the simple, beautiful elegance of the line, right? So we don't want to clutter it with these anchor points, but we do understand their power. They can go from being corner joins to being round joins, and once they've got those handles, again, I'm using the anchor point tool to either click, release, or as you see here, I can even manipulate one handle at a time so that I'm only just working with that one side of the curve. So that's the anchor point tool. Add anchor point, direct select, manipulate my curve, remove anchor point, click right back on there, and we don't need that anchor point. Let's say we don't need that extra line segment there, remove anchor point. Okay, so again, working with this line, moving between working with our tools here and working with our control panel, we also notice that there's this other option which makes it so easy. We can actually split the path right at the anchor point. So sort of, cutting it right off at that joint. Click onto that tool, click right onto, oops, have to have that point selected, click onto that tool, and by clicking right there onto that anchor point, again, using the white direct select, we can now see that we've split the path into two. And so more and more as we move into advanced work, that's going to be very helpful. Let's get rid of this line and also see, so that we can also see that these tools apply to when we work with shapes. I'm going to go ahead and just create sort of a basic shape, fill it with a color so that you can see. This is a basic rectangle. Add anchor point. Right here at the center, my smart guides are helping to sort of line up where the center of that line segment is. Again, if you don't have smart guides on, you can go under View and choose Smart Guides. So they're really helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a anchor point, add anchor point right there, white direct select, and I can go ahead and kind of create this little tab or arrow. Okay, so I wouldn't be able to do it on this side because there's no anchor point and we can only edit at the anchor points. So once I do that, again, if I go ahead and click delete, we return it back to its original rectangle shape. So all of these convert from smooth to corner, from corner to smooth also apply. Let's go ahead and see that that's what that ends up looking like. Direct select. You can kind of get that shape. So you can have a lot more flexibility if you already want to start with sort of pre-conceived shapes and edit those as well. So one last sort of note about the pen tool, that convert anchor point functionality, once again with no fill on, if I click and I'm going in that direction anyway and I want to make that nice smooth transition, I can do so. Okay, but if now instead of wanting to move along those handles, you see the next line segment wants to follow that direction. If I'm not going in that direction, I need to double back and create a corner. I can always just click right onto the anchor point from there, and that's how I can go ahead and create that corner. It allows me to be free to move in any direction I want. So once again, I'm going in this direction, that's great. But I don't want to go in this direction. I want to create a corner, sort of like a wave. I want to double back, click on the anchor point, and now you're free to move in the direction you wish. Anytime you're finished drawing, in addition to clicking on a tool to deactivate, you can also hit escape and it'll stop that preview. Okay, so that's a quick little video on how to start to feel comfortable creating paths, editing the paths, working with the anchor points, both through the pen tool and the related family and the control panel. Join me for the next video where we're going to move into working with strokes. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click subscribe and see you in the next video. Thanks.